Hey guys, welcome back to some more reviews. The Explorer 4 here, the Horror Boy. And since I did that Halloween ranking live stream yesterday, I figured that I would get on here and talk about Halloween Kills in more detail. Now, also, I gave a non spoiler kind of little discussion in that stream about Halloween Kills. So, this time around, it will be a spoiler review. So, if you have not seen Halloween Kills yet, definitely go check it out, then come back to the review. But this will contain spoilers. Just want to throw that out there right now. Now, Halloween Kills is a 5.8 on IMDb, directed by, of course, once again, David Gordon Green. And majority of the same cast and crew came back to this movie from the 2018 movie, which I can appreciate that because it does feel like a true continuation of that story. You know, there's not a new director, a new crew, a new look to the movie. It's not like it's a completely different, vision of a sequel. So I will say that. I mean, right off the bat, I already got a positive there. It's a good continuation of the story as far as following the events of the 2018 movie. Now, Halloween Kills, to get into the plot real quick, it's a very basic plot. It takes place right after the first reboot. And basically, it also does tell a little bit of a prequel where it goes back into the 70s and it tells the backstory of, how Michael Myers ended up getting captured and how that all went down. They even managed to, and I did say spoiler alert, they even managed to bring back Dr. Loomis. Now, I don't know if it was exactly CGI or not. I'm not sure. But it looked pretty damn close to Donald Pleasance. And again, I think they may have just used an actor to do it. Because if that was CGI, that was pretty impressive. But it says here they had an actor play Dr. Loomis. So I'm not really sure if they did CGI enhancements or not. I'm not sure. Point is, it looked good. The voice I thought was a little bit off, but as far as it looking like Dr. Loomis and looking like Donald Pleasance, I thought they nailed that part. And basically, the movie begins like that. You're seeing how Michael Myers ended up getting captured. You're seeing Will Patton's backstory, and you're also seeing backstory of couple other characters in this movie, and I believe it's Lonnie, Lonnie Elam, who's a character from the first movie. They ended up doing like a little backstory for that character as well. And then it continues after the 2018 movie, and occasionally you'll have flashbacks back to that 1978 time throughout the film. And basically, Michael Myers did not burn to death in that house. He escaped, and basically begins leaving a blood trail. Laurie Strode and her granddaughter and her daughter are going to stand up and fight against Michael Myers and hunt him down, along with Tommy Doyle, along with these other characters from the previous, well, not from the previous movie, but from the first movie. I mean, you have Sheriff Brackett come back, which you actually did have, I believe it's Charles Cyphers who played Sheriff Brackett in the original. He actually came back and played him again here, which I thought was really, really cool. That was awesome. They brought back Charles Cyphers. Thought he did a good job. But you had the nurse character from the first movie, and it's actually the same actress too. She comes back, and she was in H2O as well. And it's funny because in H2O she got killed off at the beginning. In this movie, she gets killed off at the beginning. So really, she's come back twice and gotten killed off twice towards the beginning of each movies. Just thought that was a little bit, funny. But yeah, they bring back that character. They bring back a couple other people, and they begin to hunt down Michael Myers. Michael Myers is killing people along the way back to his house, and they're trying to figure out why he's going back home. What is the deal with all that? Why is Michael Myers going back home? And that's basically the plot of the movie. You got him killing people on the way in Haddonfield. He's killing people that are trying to hunt him down. And it's up to basically Laurie's daughter and granddaughter, because Laurie Strode is very badly injured from the last movie. So Laurie Strode is in the hospital. This one's more about the next generation of the Strodes going after Michael Myers. Much more about the daughter, Judy Greer, and much more about the granddaughter. And I thought, as far as this movie goes, like I said in the discussion video, same problems as the first Halloween reboot. Although I think this movie is a lot more amplified with that. Where this movie, if I look at it as a slasher movie, as a Halloween slasher flick, with just a mindset of fun, popcorn, slashing, gore, practical effects, Michael Myers being a badass. Michael Myers is the best part of this movie. I mean, Michael Myers is killing people left and right. He's killing multiple groups of people at once. He's this really just brutal, pulverizing character. And he is definitely my favorite part of this movie, is Michael Myers. Because it was a fun, brutal way to play the character. Even though it's not my favorite, I would much rather prefer the Shadows, Halloween 2 and 4 and 1, and even a little bit of Halloween 6 and stuff like that. I prefer, that Michael Myers, where it's more of that mysterious shape in the shadows, stalk and slash type of character. But it is always fun to see a brutal Michael Myers, whether it's in these movies or Halloween, the Rob Zombie movies. It is always fun seeing a brutal, just fucking ruthless Michael Myers. And the kills in this movie I thought were really amazing. I mean, this definitely is one of the goriest Halloween movies out there. Would I say it's the goriest? I mean, Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie, H2, was pretty gory. And there have been movies in the series that have had pretty good kills. I mean, Halloween 2 bumps up the kills. Halloween 6 has some decent kills. Resurrection had some pretty decent kills. Even the first remake from Rob Zombie, I thought was having some decent kills in there. So even though I would say it's pretty gory, to say it's the goriest and most brutal Halloween movie, it is pretty brutal, but there have been brutal Halloween movies before this. So if you're expecting Michael Myers to be ripping guts out and, ripping people's heads off and twisting them off and popping them off and stuff like that, and going Victor Crowley mode on this movie, it's not quite to that extreme, but it is definitely one of the goriest Halloween movies out there. And the kills are just fantastic. I mean, you have him killing a whole group of firefighters with a saw into a dude's face, stabbing someone and picking them up and then dropping them. You're seeing a POV of this spiked, I don't even know what the tool is he's using, but he's using this weapon and you see it go right through the mask. It's POV. Very, very good shot. And that whole opening sequence and the rest of the movie I thought was shot fairly well. The movie is lit pretty good. It's shot well. I would even say I prefer the way this movie was shot more than the first reboot, which even that movie has a gray lighting tone. I think, camera work-wise, it's a good movie as far as how they filmed it and everything like that. But this one I thought had a really good choice of lighting and some great camera work, good camera angles. I thought the camera work just in general was on point in this movie. Once again, the music is on point. I wouldn't say as good as the first reboot. Once again, there are some new tracks in there that I just thought were forgettable and not on the point of the previous movie, which I know that John Carpenter it was a big hand doing the score. I think he did all the music. Not a terrible score, not saying that at all, but it is definitely a score that when you compare it to the first movies, well, I always say the first movie, I keep thinking of the 2018 movie, but the first movie is a 78 film. The first reboot, I gotta keep saying that because of that. See, that's why that movie should have been called Halloween Returns, because now I gotta keep calling it the first reboot, or the 2018 movie. You could have just called it Halloween Returns, and it would have been so much more easier to talk about that movie. But John Carpenter's score, I thought was a lot more... I don't know, I got into a lot more in the first reboot than this one, but this one also had good music. It's not a bad score at all. It's not a terrible score. I did like some tracks in this movie, especially during certain scenes, like when Michael Myers is going on a rampage and killing people. Usually the music in that and those kind of sequences are actually, it's very on point. I also enjoyed the main theme of the movie. I also enjoyed the opening credits, about all these pumpkins coming into frame and they're on fire and you're seeing different pumpkins and the orange text and the main theme of the movie I also got into. So all of that was also nailed. I will say this: some of the performances in this movie I thought were a little bit better, and I thought a lot of the characters were handled a lot better in this movie. For instance, the asshole boyfriend, I thought his character in this movie, it got to a point to where I didn't hate his character anymore. And it's funny because as soon as it got to that point, he ends up getting killed off. But I thought that was a good moment because at the beginning of the movie, I was hoping he got killed off. But this guy is an asshole character. I didn't care for him in the last movie. You know, I didn't care for Judy Greer in the last movie. I just didn't. But as far as those two people go, I thought they really bumped up the performance. And I thought they also really made me enjoy the characters. And it's funny because they both end up getting killed off in the movie. But I thought they ended up really making me, enjoy those characters. So I will say that's also a very big positive. The acting is a little bit of a step up from the previous movie. What else? I think where I can get into... Oh, yeah, also, the look of Michael Myers. Before I get to any of the bad stuff, any negatives of the film, I will say this. The mask, cool look. I kind of wish... Because if we're going to have a... Let's just face it at this point. We're going to have a supernatural Michael Myers. So if we're going to have that, I do kind of wish they would have done this really cool look, which there were concepts of, where half the mask was burnt and half of it wasn't. And actually... one half of the mask was burnt so bad that you could see parts of like the skull coming through. And I thought that was really badass looking. Now I know it would have been really far-fetched because it's like, okay, obviously at this point he's supernatural. But I mean, if you watch this movie, they even say that the more he kills, the more he transcends. So the more he kills, the more evil he gets. So we're going to be done with the supernatural Michael Myers, whether we like it or we don't. It's going to be in these movies. He's been shot 1,000 times in this movie and he won't die. So the whole him being a normal guy thing is out the window already. So I thought it would have been really cool if they had like the skull right here and then had the regular mask right here. I think that would have been a really cool look. But still, nevertheless, a good, cool looking Michael Myers. And once again, I thought that, the portrayal of Michael Myers by James Jude Courtney, I thought he was excellent in the role, as far as the mannerisms, as far as the way he moved, as far as the way he stalks certain characters and the brutality of certain scenes. I think he really nails Michael Myers. And if he played Michael Myers in the flashbacks to the 70s, then he did a fantastic job mimicking Nick Castle's movements, because in those flashbacks Michael Myers is strangling people. He's not using knives and stuff like that, or crushing skulls. He's strangling people, and I like that. It's going back to the 70s, and it is making Michael Myers like he was in the 70s. And the way he even moved and had the mask, it looked good. And I will say that too, a big positive about this movie is I love the flashbacks, and I didn't think I would. Because I'm over here like, oh god, they're going to flash back to the 70s and they're going to do this horrible backstory. And I really wasn't into that part as far as when I first seen it. I'm like, oh god, we got a flashback. But I got into it. Like, oh, it looks, lighting-wise, like the first movie. Even camera work-wise, like the first movie. And I noticed that. And I noticed how the set design was and how it looked like it was in the 70s. I thought that was actually done very, very well in this movie. That flashback in the beginning and throughout the movie, I thought was nailed. I thought it was directed very well, it was shot well, it was written well. I liked what they were doing with it and how Will Patton could have ended it all, but he didn't believe it was the right thing to do, just kill this guy and shoot him in the head. But, and I love that dialogue scene between him and Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, that scene of them in the hospital, that scene of them is just really, really good. And I thought the dialogue there was important, and it built the characters up, and, talking about how they knew each other back in the past, and it was a great scene. And there are some scenes that I thought were interesting. Like, okay, we're going to have Tommy Doyle do this speech. Interesting. The idea, and I will say this too, I appreciate the idea of the movie, of them hunting down Michael Myers. Finally, we get a movie where they're hunting him down, they're going to go after him. Because even though Halloween 4 had that, and a lot of people also say that, like, oh, Halloween 4 did it, Halloween 4 did it. Halloween 4 did it, but it's kind of barely in the movie. There's maybe like, what, 3 scenes total of them out looking for Michael Myers, and in one of them they accidentally shoot somebody and kill someone, and the ending sequence, and maybe when they get together for the first time they go after Michael Myers. And I just thought, it is in Halloween 4, but it wasn't a big part of the movie, whereas here it was a major part of the story. I appreciate that. I like the idea of them hunting down Michael Myers. Why is he going back to the house? Why is that? Explain that. This is where we get into the negatives, though. Like I said, as a slasher Halloween movie, I think it's fun. I think it's entertaining. I think it's a popcorn ride. It's fun. And that's, I think, all it's really meant to be, was just a fun time. As a Halloween movie is where we get into the issues. Because, number one, the story is a filler story. It really is. If you cut out Halloween Kills, you would not miss much. Because majority of the characters that come into this movie are the ones that die. And the ones that die at the very end of the movie. So you really could have cut out that whole middle part of the film and made it the beginning and the end and put that in Halloween Ends, and you really wouldn't miss anything. Because, like I said, these characters that get introduced, most of them die in the movie. Tommy Doyle dies, the other girl, well, I don't know if I think she does die. But the nurse dies, I know that for a fact. I think Brackett even dies in this movie. Will Patton is still alive in this movie. It's a bit far-fetched, but I can deal with it. It's a slasher movie. It's a horror film. It's a Halloween movie. I can deal with it. But it is a filler movie, and I feel like that's why it's so awkward to watch, because the way this movie is formatted and the way it's laid out, it doesn't really have a beginning, a middle, and end. It has a giant middle. It just starts, and then it kind of has a point where it ends, and it's not really an ending, it's more of a cliffhanger, and it's not really a beginning, it's more of just showing the prequel part. So it's a very weird, like, formatted film, like when you're watching it, and I could even tell, even just the way they edited it in certain times. That's another big problem, is the editing. They edit certain sequences to where they don't really have any impact. And so you're watching these scenes that should be impactful, like Judy Greer's death scene, like the death scenes of Tommy Doyle and the rest of this mob that goes after Michael Myers, and because of the editing, it's not very impactful. You're just watching it, and you're like, okay, you begin to realize this is a giant teaser for Halloween Ends. And I thought that was why they should have never announced 2 Halloween movies, because in reality, this movie is just a giant filler movie. It's just there to kind of fill the void in between the first 2 movies, and the whole main part of the plot of them going to the house, or them chasing down Michael Myers to the house was pointless, because it ultimately led to nothing in this movie. It ultimately led to nothing because the explanation they give us, I thought, didn't work for me. I thought it really didn't work. This whole explanation of them trying to be deep. And that's another problem. Them having these deep messages in the movie. Like, oh my god, this mob got formed, and look how Michael Myers turned the whole town of Haddonfield evil, and look what he's done to this town. That didn't really work for me. I'm like, well, there's this random guy, escaped mental patient, I guess escaped in the first movie when the bus crashed. They're chasing him down thinking he's Michael Myers. So you're telling me all these people really believe this guy's Michael Myers? And you can clearly see he's not Michael Myers. There's no mask, nothing. And would that really happen? Would a mob just go after a random guy and start chasing him down to the point to where he jumps out of a window and kills himself? That part of the movie I thought was so unnecessary. That felt like it was a part of a whole other film. I don't even know why that was done in this movie. All that time, that 15-20 minutes of that subplot went nowhere. It went absolutely nowhere. And them trying to explain Michael Myers and the backstory once again, I didn't get into that. The whole more he kills, the more he transcends. What is this? What is this reveal of, oh, Michael Myers goes home to basically stare out of a window? That's the main reason why he goes home. To stare out of a window. I don't really know if they were going with that. Was it, oh, and they mentioned in dialogue, oh, he's not looking out, he's looking in, he's looking at the reflection in his eyes, and how we all have the reflection, and how we all have an evil side. I don't know if that's what they were going with. I don't know what they're trying to do with that ending. But that did not even be in a Halloween movie. Especially one like this where it's a slasher movie. Why is this a slasher movie with some really trying to be deep messages in this movie? I thought they were totally out of place. They were a waste of time. It was a waste of a concept. You could have done so many other things with that plot of them going to his house. Why did he go home? Is that the only place he can go to? Is that where he can go and be free? Like, explain it. Why is he going home? And the only thing we get by the end of the movie is he looks out of a window. I just thought it was a big waste of potential. And that is where a lot of these problems come from, is a lot of script issues, a lot of story issues, a lot of them trying to explain this mystique. Once again, trying to explain why Michael Myers is like this. You know, and you don't need that in this movie. All you needed was them going after Michael Myers, getting to the house, and figuring out an ending that would work. Not an ending where it's him looking out of a window and saying, oh, he's not looking out the window. He's looking at his reflection. He's looking in the window and trying to be deep with it. And then you have this ending I thought was so out there, where Michael Myers is being shot thousands upon thousands of times by guns, and he's killing this whole mob, and Judy Greer grabs the mask and runs. Well, that's when he gets shot up and by the mob and stuff like that. When she grabs the mask, she runs, he goes, and he gets shot about 1,000 times by these people in this mob, and then he kills them all in slow-mo, and it's dubbed over with Jamie Lee Curtis giving a speech, and that's the thing. It made it, like, not impactful. And I was getting into it, man. I was getting into it where I'm like, yeah, Michael Myers, get up and kill these people. Kill these assholes. Get up. And he gets up. It's like a Rocky movie. He's getting up and he's slashing them. And then they edit it all weird. I'm like, why would you do that? I was getting into that scene. Michael Myers is the lead of this movie. He's the person you're rooting for, man, because he's badass. And I do like that. You know? So I do appreciate that, having a badass unstoppable Michael Myers. And him killing groups of people. But the way they edited it, I thought was just bad. And they dubbed over Laurie Strode doing this speech. That was unnecessary. And then you have an ending that I thought was so confusing, because Judy Greer looks up into the Myers house window, and I thought she saw her own reflection in that window. That's what I thought I seen. But some people have said that it's actually young Michael Myers in the window. So I don't know. I thought I saw her see her own self up in the window, but maybe it was a young Michael Myers. I don't know. I can't remember. It happened like that, so I couldn't really. All I know is that she sees somebody up in the window. She goes up there, looks at the reflection. Michael Myers appears, kills her, and the movie with a cliffhanger. The grandmother's Laurie Strode. The granddaughter's still alive. Laurie Strode's still alive, and Will Patton's still alive. But a lot of the other characters get killed off. And that ending I thought was so confusing. I really didn't understand why that movie ended like that. And it was confusing as hell. I'm like, what does that mean? What does that ending mean? Can somebody explain it to me? I'm over here. I watched it twice, by the way. 2 times. And I still don't know what they were going with that ending. I'm like, what? Why is this happening, man? Why is the editing so weird? Why is it trying to have deep messages? Why is there some sequences that are drawn out and pointless? And yeah, besides the lead characters, there's really not a whole lot of interesting characters in this movie. a lot of the victims are just random people. But then again, it's a slasher movie, so I can't really hate it that much for that. But yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot of problems with the movie as well. That's why when I first watched it, I didn't really know how to feel about it, because there were aspects I loved, there were aspects that I hated, there was aspects I thought were creative, and then there were parts of it that I thought were a waste of potential. And overall, I'll say this: as a Halloween movie, not a big fan of it as a Halloween movie, but as a slasher film, as a slasher movie, I thought it was a really fun time. It's got good gore effects. You got people getting their eyes gouged out and light bulbs being shoved in somebody's neck, and people getting their freaking faces crushed into the wall. The way the asshole boyfriend gets killed is brutal. Michael Myers is grabbing his head and boom, 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 just cracking his skull on the walls, and brutal. The death scenes are great. The gore is fantastic. The music is on point. The direction, camera work, lighting, the style of the movie I thought was interesting. How it looked. The music was pretty good. Michael Myers is badass. The acting was okay, But yeah, overall I'm gonna give Halloween Kills a solid 6 out of 10. Not a bad movie, not a great movie. Decent, fun slasher movie. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. So, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6 out of 10 and end the review. But if you guys have seen Halloween Kills, definitely let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's okay? Definitely let me know in the comments below. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this review. Happy Halloween. Appreciate the support. And I'll be seeing you guys in the next review. The Explorer of Horror is out. Peace.